40 floors above a rain-slicked downtown street, the last great party of Vespera Tower is already in full swing. The city skyline burns behind a champagne tower that nobody built, ironically, and at the center of it all, Sanskriti laughs like she owns every square foot of sky up here. Jameson circles the crowd, like a nature documentarian who loves his subjects too much to stay objective. Phone up, lens finding every chaotic, beautiful corner of the night. Because if you don't film it, did it even happen? Julian has already made 4 new best friends and is working on a 5th. He gestures through some story with his whole body, that vintage button-up open at the collar, and whoever he's talking to is hanging on every word. It's not a skill. It's a gift, and he knows it. Over by the service station, Hudson has somehow ended up with a young caterer's wrist in his hands. The guy slipped on a wet tile backstage. Hudson doesn't know first aid formally. He just learned a lot from watching his mom work emergency shifts growing up. He wraps the ice pack with a linen napkin and ties it firm. Daniela keeps one arm slightly angled across her body all night, casual enough that nobody would notice, precise enough to keep her clutch pressed close. Inside it, an encrypted hard drive the size of a lipstick case. She smiled at 30 people in the last hour. Not one of them saw her hand move to check it. 40 floors below, Andrew is parked, where he always parks, exactly where he can see 3 different exit routes, and the engine doesn't have to warm up before moving. The silver Camaro idles under an amber streetlight. He's got the radio low and the windows cracked, and he is perfectly, completely not bored. He tells himself that. Up in the ceiling, Mert hauls a dessert tray through a gap in the ductwork because his supervisor pointed at the broken vent and said, and I quote, "You're the smallest." He is not the smallest. He is simply the one who didn't say no fast enough. The crawl space is exactly 1 shoulder width wide. 2 hours before any of this started, Drea walked into Vespera Tower, carrying a tall arrangement of white peonies and wearing a florist's apron she bought at a craft store the week before. By the time she set the arrangement down in the lobby, she had already clocked every security camera angle on sub-level 2. The vault adjacent to the server room was the whole point, has been for weeks. She is now behind a server rack in the sub-basement, very still, very patient, and extremely annoyed that the party upstairs sounds fun. Back on the roof, Cooper has found the Champagne Tower and is circling it the way a man circles a sacred monument. He has appointed himself master of ceremonies through sheer force of personality and 0 official authority, and somehow it's working. He gestures at the tower like a game show host revealing a car, and then, unhurried, cord necklace swinging, Kibben comes through the service entrance. No one invited him. No one didn't invite him exactly. He finds a quiet corner near the east balustrade, leans against the railing with the entire city behind him, and watches the room the way you watch a train departure board when you already know which train is yours. The lights die all at once. Not a flicker. A decision. Then, from every direction simultaneously, shaped charges detonate on all 4 stairwell doors, with a percussion that people will describe later as feeling less like sound, and more like the building briefly considering falling down. 12 figures in black tactical gear drop on fast lines from the maintenance scaffold above. The elevator opens. Commander Varga steps out. He doesn't rush. He raises a bullhorn and his voice fills the roof the way a dropped temperature fills a room, completely from every direction, whether you want it to or not. Jameson's hand moves before his brain fully processes what's happening. Old instinct. He peels back the inner lining of his jacket, tucks the phone in camera first against the seam, and zips up. Then he takes the decoy, an old burner he keeps in his back pocket, has kept there for no reason he ever examined too closely until right now, and drops it into the wire collection basket without looking at the man holding it. In the sub-level, Drea hears the shaped charges as 4 distinct pressure waves rolling through the concrete. She doesn't move for a full 10 seconds. Then she presses herself deeper behind the server rack and begins counting her options, which are, by her current estimate, not great but not 0. Sanskriti stands at the center of the herded crowd and does what she always does when a room needs organizing. She looks at every person in it. Really looks. Injured knee on the man in the gray suit. Panic breathing on the woman nearest the east wall. The teenager near the bar who hasn't made a sound, which is somehow more worrying than screaming. She begins moving through the group, voice quiet, instructions quieter. Julian finds the nervous merc before the nervous merc finds him. Guy can't be older than 22. Keeps touching the radio at his hip. Julian steps close, not threatening, just present, and asks conversationally whether the guy has ever actually done a job this size before. The merc blinks. Julian smiles. And so begins the most dangerous small talk in the history of the city skyline. Ethan has found something better than an exit. He's found a maintenance schematic. It was rolled up and pinned to the inside of a utility closet door, which a guard shoved Ethan against and which Ethan read in its entirety in the 4 seconds before being pushed away. He is now sitting against the wall with his eyes closed and the entire building's bones mapped in his head. Hudson has moved to the elderly man who went down hard when the crowd lurched. The graze on the man's forearm is clean but bleeding steadily. Hudson tears a tablecloth strip with his teeth, folds it twice, applies pressure with both thumbs, and talks the whole time, low, unhurried, about nothing important. The man's breathing slows. Conan is shaking. Hands, jaw, the little cord at his throat, all of it vibrating at a frequency somewhere between fear and barely contained static electricity. He looks around at the people near him, sees the same paralysis he can feel in his own chest, and makes a calculation that no rational person would make. He starts talking. Specifically, he starts quoting survival statistics, which he is definitely making up, with complete academic confidence. The person next to him starts laughing despite themselves. Then the next. The shaking doesn't stop, but it changes shape. Caleb moves once and stops moving. He finds the cluster of younger guests, college-age kids, a couple of them, positions himself between them and the nearest 2 gunmen, and plants. No posturing, no challenge in his face. Just weight and presence and the clear physical statement, "You would have to go through me, and I would like to see you try to do that quickly." Dave has found the laundry chute in the catering prep alcove, and he is committing. He gets his shoulders through, kicks off the wall, and drops, jacket flaring, into the building's maintenance guts 1 floor below. He lands on a pile of linen bags, rolls, and checks his glasses. Still on? Good. He starts moving. Gazelle drifts. That's the only word for it. The mercs see a woman in a dark dress fetching bottled water for an injured guest, murmuring apologies as she passes, staying small and unthreatening. What the mercs don't see is that she's been in a 4-foot radius of 3 different guards in the last 6 minutes, and she now knows the patrol rotation, the radio channel number, and which guard has a loose keycard clipped to his belt instead of secured. Varga's second-in-command has the kind of face that is always searching for something to confirm what it already suspects. He finds Daniela's clutch within 3 minutes of Varga's initial sweep. He holds out his hand. Daniela meets his eyes, smiles pleasantly, and tells him the drive is biometrically linked to a remote authentication server, that if the wrong biometric hits it, it wipes. She says this, the way you tell someone their reservation has been lost. Politely. Definitively. Sorry. Davis watches from 11 feet away. He's been watching since the second-in-command started walking toward Daniela's corner. His expression gives absolutely nothing. Not concern, not calculation, not the thing he's clearly about to do. He waits. He finds his moment. He walks into a serving tray. Every head in the room turns, including the second-in-command's. In the 2 seconds of collective attention shift, Daniela's hand moves, palm the real drive from the clutch, tuck it, produce the blank with the same hand already extended and compliant. The merc turns back. She's holding something out to him. He takes it. Davis hits the floor as a rifle butt finds his ribs and does not get up. In the ceiling crawl space, Mert sees everything through the ventilation grill slats. The tray. Davis going down. Daniela's hand. He files it all with the specific thoroughness of someone who has realized that being invisible and directly above the action is, unexpectedly, the best seat in the house. He tears a corner off a napkin from the dessert tray beside him, scribbles 3 words, folds it into a narrow square, and lets it drop through the slats. The folded napkin lands at Ethan's feet. He picks it up without changing his posture, unfolds it against his knee, reads it once, and closes his eyes again. The schematic in his head now has new annotations. Varga crosses the room and crouches in front of Kibben like he has all the time available to him in the world. Maybe he does. He speaks quietly enough that it shouldn't carry. But the room has that particular siege silence where every ambient sound is stripped away, and so the words reach farther than Varga intends. They reach Jameson's jacket pocket. The little camera light blinks, steady and patient, against the lining. This whole siege, The decommissioning cover, the mercenaries, the plan to bring the building down in a way that mimics structural negligence. It has nothing to do with Daniela's drive or money or corporate leverage. It has to do with Kibben. Specifically, 6 weeks ago, Kibben documented on site that the demolition permits for this building were forged to conceal load-bearing wall removals. Removals that would cause a collapse, killing everyone inside. Removals Varga was paid to cover up. Kibben is the only living person with that documentation. Until tonight, the only one. Kibben's answer is quiet and complete. He came tonight because he knew Varga would come here. He came because his friends are here, and because he needed them here, all of them, together, for what comes next. He says this without flinching. Varga stares at him for a long moment. It is unclear which of them is more dangerous. Varga triggers the partial charge test without ceremony, just a signal sent to a detonator somewhere in the building's bones. The rooftop shudders. Glass balustrades crack in a long splintering line. 2 guests fall. Hudson is already moving before the sound finishes. Cooper sees the chaos opening like a door, and Cooper has never in his life walked past an open door. He turns, gets his shoulder down, and runs directly at the champagne tower. The collision is magnificent. Glass and champagne avalanche across 20 feet of floor in every direction. 4 guards slip, stagger, scatter. Gazelle moves through the resulting chaos like water finding a path downhill. She bumps into the distracted guard with the loose keycard, apologizes warmly, both hands briefly on his arm, and drifts away. The radio is in her left hand. The keycard is folded into her right. She has not broken her smile once. The keycard reaches Ethan. Ethan reaches the floor grate. Dave's hand reaches up through it from the maintenance level below. The exchange takes 4 seconds. Ethan stands up, straightens his glasses, and walks back to his spot on the wall like he sat there the whole time. In the sub-basement, Dave reaches the charge control panel. He stares at it. Then a voice from 3 feet to his left says, flatly, "The primary detonator relays through that door, adjacent to the vault I was going to rob tonight." Dave turns. Drea is leaning against the server rack with her arms folded and her permanent, unimpressed expression suggesting she finds this entire coincidence exhausting. Davis is found to be breathing, barely, and under a fallen decorative pillar. Caleb does not ask for help. He does not announce what he's doing. He gets his hands under the pillar, looks at it for 1 second, and lifts. The 2 guards watching him take a step back. Davis is dragged clear. Caleb is shoved at gunpoint back to his position. He goes. He does not look winded. Conan's cheerleading eventually reaches a frequency one merc can't tolerate. A hand closes on Conan's collar. He's dragged toward the stairwell door, his wire-framed glasses going crooked, still talking. The door swings shut behind them both. He is gone. The group watches the door for 10 minutes. It does not open. Daniela is escorted through a side door by 2 armed escorts on Varga's direct order. The door closes. The group registers this with different faces. Sanskriti's jaw tightens. Julian's easy expression doesn't change, but his eyes do. Giselle presses the stolen radio closer to her ear. Nobody says anything out loud, because saying it out loud makes it real. Giselle has been on Varga's radio channel for the past 12 minutes, catching fragments between patrols. She drifts close to Sanskriti under the guise of fixing her own hair and whispers, without moving her lips much, everything she's learned about Varga's remote override trigger and command post location. Sanskriti listens, nods once. The gold watch on her wrist catches the light when she taps it twice. A signal. Street level. Andrew's phone buzzes once. The text reads, "Kibben. Roof." Now and then nothing. He stares at it. Outside, the first police barriers are being half-assembled by officers who don't have enough information yet to know what kind of night this is becoming. Andrew's hand moves to the door handle. Stops. He looks at the Camaro's idling dash. He has thought of himself as the getaway all night. The question is, getaway from what? For who, in what direction? Sanskriti gathers what she needs from the people she can reach. Ethan's mental map. Cassell's intel. Jameson's jacket. She pulls them into a tight corner of the roof, behind a toppled catering station, and lays out the entire picture in under 90 seconds. Kibben's documents. Jameson's footage. The plan doesn't require fighting every merc. It requires one correctly aimed charge, one stalled conversation, and 4 minutes. The target is Varga's command post, the charge already wired into the floor section directly beneath it, Varga's own preparation, repurposed against him. Ethan has identified 2 load-bearing columns his crew didn't touch. The collapse will be contained, a single controlled pancake, down into the parking structure below. Everyone else needs to be moving before it fires. Julian is given his assignment. 4 minutes. Varga's full attention. Julian rolls up his sleeves and exhales. Julian walks across the open floor of the rooftop toward Commander Varga, without being called, without a weapon, without anything but his own particular gravity. He stops a respectful distance away and begins talking about engineering, about what it means to build something that's designed to come down, about legacy. His voice is unhurried and warm and completely unafraid, and it is so unusual that Varga, without meaning to, listens. Davis opens his eyes. He's against a column with 2 cracked ribs and a very partial picture of what's being planned. But Sanskriti meets his eyes from across the room, and that's enough. He straightens, one hand braced on the column behind him, and gives her a single nod. He's ready. He doesn't say what he's ready for. He doesn't have to. Ethan signals Mert through the vent with 2 slow knocks on the grill from below. From above, after 3 seconds, 2 knocks return. Mert finds the breaker panel in the crawl space. It's labeled in a maintenance diagram he memorized an hour ago through a different grill because Mert, it turns out, is excellent at reading upside-down engineering diagrams in the dark. He gets his hand on the specific breaker. He waits. Dave and Drea reach the detonator relay together. It's a junction box the size of a microwave, wired in 4 directions. Drea knows which 2 terminals to redirect. She mapped this room while casing the vault, and the relay is literally on the other side of the vault wall. She pulls a multi-tool from somewhere in her tank top situation. Dave doesn't ask. He holds the wire steady. She reroutes. 4 minutes. Julian has used 3 of them. He's talking about the specific engineering of forgetting how the things a man builds to hide what he's done become the architecture of his own ending. Varga has not told him to stop. His gray eyes are watching Julian the way you watch something you can't quite categorize. 1 minute left. Ethan gives the signal. Mert flips the breaker. Varga's remote override goes dark. His earpiece pops with static, his command post screen dies, and in the half-second his hand moves toward his backup trigger. The rerouted charge fires. The floor gives. The command post drops 1 clean level into the parking structure below in a controlled pancake collapse, exactly as Ethan drew it in the air. The dust rises. The space where Varga was standing is a hole in the roof. He does not come back up. The remaining mercs look at the hole, look at each other. Their comms are dead. Their commander is gone. And then from the stairwell door, which opens, slowly, Conan emerges. He is wearing a merc's tactical vest over his fitted black tee. He is holding a fire extinguisher. His glasses are still on. He has the expression of a man who has fully accepted whatever this moment is. Caleb and Davis step forward at the same moment, one enormous and immovable, one barely standing and absolutely fine about it. The remaining mercs lower their weapons. Nobody fires. The fire extinguisher was, apparently, the deciding factor. The siege ends not with a firefight, but with a very long, very strange pause. Ethan triggers the automated floor evacuation from the emergency panel, and the building floods with noise and motion and purpose. Every exit lights up. Alarms give people something to do with their adrenaline. The group moves. Cooper carries Davis over one shoulder with the ease of someone who has done fraternity hazing obstacle courses and does not find this categorically different. Davis looks at the ceiling as he's carried and says, flatly, that he is perfectly capable of walking. Cooper says, cool, and does not put him down. The door to the room Varga had taken Daniela into opens from the inside. She steps out. Shaken in a way her posture is working hard not to show, the blank drive still in her clutch, the real drive tucked safe in her bra. She finds the group with her eyes, exhales once, and joins the moving line without a word. Later, maybe. Not right now. Hudson is last out of the rooftop. He checks every corner, every crouched shape, every potential person still frozen in place, the way his mother used to sweep a room. He finds no one left behind. He goes through the door. It closes behind him. Mert, in the ceiling crawl space above a section of duct that has decided, structurally, that tonight is a good night to stop existing, falls. The ductwork gives. He drops through into open air, 2 floors of it. and his hands find a long decorative fabric banner strung between the building face and a light scaffold. It arrests his fall. He is dangling 2 floors above the street, which is fine. This is fine. Andrew did come up. He made his decision somewhere around the 3rd floor, and he's been on the exterior scaffold since. He sees Mert's hands before he sees the rest of him. He gets his own arm around the scaffold rail, reaches out with the other, and closes his grip on Mert's wrist. Below them, the rain-slicked street waits. The lobby exit seal trips Andrea when she's 4 seconds behind the last person through. The door locks. She hits it once with her palm, not panic, just assessment, and turns. The maintenance panel beside the door swings open from the inside. Dave's arm reaches through. She grabs it. He pulls. She's out. The group assembles on the rain-slicked street in 1s and 2s and 3s, the way people come out of a concert. Slightly dazed, slightly thrilled, taking stock of who's there. The Camaro idles at the curb. The smoke rising from the tower floors above them bends in the wind. Everyone breathes. Sanskriti looks at Kibben and asks the question everyone else is thinking in too many competing pieces to form into words. How long had he known Varga would come to this gala specifically? Kibben doesn't answer immediately. He reaches into the collar of his shirt and holds up the cord necklace by its clasp. 6 weeks, he says. The backup copy of every document is encoded on the necklace's clasp drive. He came tonight because he needed all of them in one place. The footage, the drive, and living witnesses, so everything could go out simultaneously. He couldn't warn anyone because Varga had a source inside their own circle reading messages. The group's expressions move through several stages of processing that don't have clean names. The source was the building's event coordinator. She'd been feeding Varga the guest list for weeks, which is why this gala, this building, this night. She's already in police custody. Kibben knew. His eerie calm all night wasn't bravado. He architected the outcome from the moment he stepped through the service entrance. The silence that follows is the kind that means everyone is recalculating everything, simultaneously, backwards. Jameson slowly raises his phone. The camera light blinks on. He doesn't say anything. Kibben looks at the lens without expression, and then, finally, almost nothing, the corner of his mouth. Just once. Jameson uploads the footage to 3 cloud services at once. By the time the first paramedic reaches Davis, who is sitting on the curb telling her, calmly, that his ribs are fine and he would like to be measured by something other than her concern, the footage has 900 views. By the time she wraps him anyway, it has 40,000. Andrew leans against the Camaro's hood and exhales the entire night at once. Cooper materializes beside him, champagne still visibly threaded through his hair, and says something Cooper-shaped that makes Andrew laugh against his own will. Conan is still wearing the Merc's tactical vest. He has been asked to remove it twice. He will not be removing it tonight. Giselle finds her angle between the amber streetlight and the smoking tower. Dark berry lips, silver hoops catching the light, the building's upper facade a perfect smoldering backdrop. The phone goes up. The selfie is taken. It will receive by any metric an unreasonable number of likes. There are 3 cats sitting on the hood of the Camaro. There is an orange tabby Orpheus, and a ragged gray one they will later learn is called Hobo, and an enormous black and white Tom, Jupiter, who has the posture of a building inspector. They arrived at some point during the siege, and their arrival was not witnessed. They regard the group with identical expressions of mild but sustained judgment. Nobody in the group comments on the cats. Hudson reaches over without looking, finds the black and white Tom behind one ear and scratches. Jupiter leans into it slightly, with the dignity of a cat who considers this merely appropriate. Above the tower, the sky does something that isn't explainable and lasts for less than a second. It glitches. The whole frame, the clouds, the amber, the cold blue dark, stutters like a signal dropping between channels. Then it's gone. The night resumes. The group stays. The cats stay. The footage keeps uploading.